Hello everyone, this is Charlotte, and this is a podcast called Chatting Cars, where I talk about random topics. My voice is a bit croaky today for some reason, even though I've just sculled about 6 cups of coffee. Hyper time. There is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I talk about sensitive topics, know which topic I actually stick in one go, if that makes sense. I don't stick to one, I work in network thinking, so I touch on a shitload of bases and try and make it fit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they do fit. That's down to your interpretation, mine. I swear a lot. It's Monday, I'm probably going to be swearing a lot more. Actually, no, tell the truth, it'll be Friday that I swear a lot. So yeah, I swear. Come on guys, we're all grown-ups here, right? We're pretending to be. If you can't handle swearing, absolutely turn it off. Some people find it offensive. I don't, because to me it's just another sound. It's a colourful thing to apply to your day. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's done in anger. There's an emotion attached to swearing, which I enjoy thoroughly. So, you know, have fun with it, fuck it. Don't do it around kids because they pick it up like a sponge. That's the only thing I can say. It's nothing weirder than hearing a year one say fuck. It's so weird. Anyway, the topic for today is judgment. Now this one goes out to my friend, and I do consider him a friend, even though we move in probably separate social groups at this point, because, you know, he's off doing his thing, his own little lifelong adventure, or his little soul path journey. He's off doing his thing. But this is where I heard the phrase from. This is, you know, I heard the phrase, and it got up my ass, to be honest. I don't judge. I don't judge. I can understand how you might want to back that. I can also understand that we are human and it is impossible not to. So for this podcast, I'm going to be looking at this critically because, you know, it made me angry at the time, to be honest. But coming from a trauma background, plus I'm female, with a bunch of shit done to me, our backgrounds shape how we approach these topics. You know, it's nothing is objective completely. Even, you know, I'm ASD. I look at things in black and white, but even then I'm still looking at it with, you know, a certain level of bias. So when I heard the words, I don't judge, I got judgy about him not judging. So it's Monday, I'm coffeed, here we go. Okay, so let me be absolutely clear, there is nothing wrong with judging. I know, it will blow your mind, this idea. Now that statement, I would assume, comes from some kind of maybe Buddhist philosophy, maybe Hindu, I don't know, looking at the cross sections. And I'm pretty sure it's something to do with, you know, not judging people on a negative base because we're all on our own life journey and we're all facing different trials and tribulations, in a biblical sense sometimes. And, you know, you never know what someone's going through, which is true in a sense. But then people feel so bad about it. I mean, bear in mind, we are biologically designed to judge. Judgment is part of our primitive design. It's the survival instinct we've had for eons. Even in biblical sense, you know, we were made in God's design. If God's judging everyone, aren't we fucking judging everyone? You know, there's nothing wrong with judging. I'm going to emphasize enough. There's nothing wrong with judging. It's what you do with that judgment that counts, okay? This is why we have things like inner monologues, because we can sit in our head and, you know, talk smack about people, but it's what we do with it that counts. As soon as you go on some kind of a rampage, you know, you go postal just trying to prove that you're right, kickstarting your ego in that process, you know, it's like, I'm right, my ego says I'm right, I'm going to go with this. And this is how you end up with mass genocide and stuff like that. It's like, you judged wrong. Yeah, and I'm looking particularly at you, Hitler, so that's my go-to evil person, isn't it? It's everyone's really. I mean, we're coming up with new ones every day, these evil people, but, you know, he's the go-to that everyone seems to know. Can you imagine, I'm just saying, because this is what directly came to my mind when I heard him say things like this. It's like, I don't judge. Can you imagine if no one had judged Hitler? What would have happened? It was like, I don't judge. So if we had judged him a bit more, maybe we could have done a bit better. I'm just saying, maybe millions of, you know, Jewish people and social outcasts by, you know, standards of the Third Reich regime might have survived. So, you know, I have issues with that. I can understand that he's got a good heart and he's coming, not Hitler, I'm talking about this guy I'm talking about who said, I don't judge. I know he's got a good heart. He's coming from a soft place. He's trying to promote peace. But the reality of this 3D situation is, I'm sorry, but no, you do judge. Not everyone has your best interests at heart. And whilst you want to promote this peace, it's a falsified, it's by saying I don't judge, it's going against your DNA, dude. It's even your divine DNA, if you want to look at it that way. To say I don't judge is to go against your divine design. We all judge. It's the survival instinct we were given at conception. If you're looking at an unsafe situation, you're going to judge. I'm hoping he means like in a kind of abstract social ways, like I'm just going to let people do what they need to do because this is their life journey sort of thing. But again, if you're looking at a social abstract kind of way, there are members of particular societies which are just horrible people. I mean, we go on about Karens, for example. Karens are judgmental and they're horrible. I mean, they have their use. Bearing in mind they do have their use. If you want a job done, hint to a Karen that it's a bad idea that this is happening, and she'll get in there, or he'll get in there. You know, you only have to suggest that someone doesn't like it, and then they become some kind of weird vigilante justice person, where even though they're like a middle-aged stay-at-home mom, is like, I can't believe, you know, it's like, it's crazy. Even the generic stereotype of what Karen is. But in a sense, we're judging Karens for being Karens, so we're a bit hypocritical in that sense. You can't just say, I don't judge. And we give them shit for it too. Bearing in mind, most of the time they get the job done. Fair play. It's like, if you've got an arsehole in your apartment block who's blaring music, all you have to do is just a hint to the Karen that, you know, I'm not happy with this, and she'll get up there and fucking wave a flag and beat the shit out of him with it. You know, we have a need for these Karens. Can you imagine how annoying it would be to have someone turn around and say, I don't judge? Because this guy's being an arsehole, and he knows that because you believe that you don't judge, he can get away with it. It's like, fuck it, I'll just keep going. It's like, yeah. Now, when I look at the main thing that comes from organized religion sort of thing, when I look at in a theologist sense, because I'm a divinist, I'm looking at it from the esoteric sense. But if it was science, I'd be a theologist, or attempting to be one, and very badly probably, because I don't have all the information. No one ever does. But, you know, this is a very biased, westernized account of this, because I was raised in a westernized country. And oh my God, don't even get me started about interpretivism, social constructivism. I could go on all day. But if I look at it, we have Buddhists in Australia because we're part of the Australian-Asian plate. We have a mixed culture. Even though we're Americanized because of mass media, we have a very Asian strand to the country. We originate from England. My people originated from England. But the taste of Australia, especially where I am, is Bali. It's, when you think of Asians, you don't think of Indian people, right? Okay. With that came particular cultural attributes such as Buddhism, Taoism, all the Javanese religions and things like that, Muslims, because you've got Malaysians. So when I look at this in a theological sense, we have aspects of things like Buddhism where it says don't judge. Now imagine that, you know, the quintessential Buddhist thing is the image of Buddha sitting there surrounded by fire. Nothing's getting to him. All these girls that are trying to lure him to do things that he shouldn't be doing because he's such a pure being, and he's not allowed to judge. But at the same time, he's not allowed to let these things affect him because that is the source of his power. This is his divinity, whatever you perceive it to be. Bearing in mind, Buddha was still part human. He still had the drive and instinct of a primitive being. He was just, you know, from what I can tell, he was a divine light within a cell mass, if you want to go that far. Which I appreciate. I love that guy. I don't know what's going on with the Dalai Lama lately, because he's doing weird things with kids, but I don't agree with that. Like, again, look at the individual, don't look at the religion, don't look at the belief system. It's what we do with our judgments and what we do with our actions that hold us accountable. And if you give a position of power, obviously, absolute power corrupts absolutely, doesn't it? So we don't know what the fuck's really going on with these people. We see what image they tell us to see. But at the same time, you know, the whole point of not judging in those instances was to understand people are fragile beings. They are representatives of the divine. We shouldn't judge them because of the choices they make. And, you know, to promote peace, we must, you know, accept that everybody's different. It's inclusivity, which I still agree with. There's a sense of do no harm. Obviously, I follow that one as well, because, and if you go into the sort of Zoroastrists as well, it's like, what is it? Kind thoughts, kind deeds, kind words. I also subscribe to that, but of course I am human and I have real fucked up anger issues. You can imagine what demons I'm fighting on a daily basis, right? But they're very gorgeous people. I love those people. But they also, their main premise is to sort of look at the value of a particular flame. There's an eternal flame that they look at, and it's to do with their belief system. Once the flame goes out, something bad happens. I don't know. But it's the kind words, kind deeds. I'm looking at the act. To me, looking at that flame is more abstract. It represents something, and it's the flame of life, I'm guessing. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to look like a tit on TV or radio or wherever the fuck this is. There's so many formats. I'm just getting used to having a phone. It's like, I'm so old. But, you know, I look at the methods. I'm not looking at the content. That's why I get annoyed with people who, you know, live religiously. And I say religiously because that in itself is a loaded weapon. Looking at the Bible word for word, but they miss the message, you know? That bugs me. It's like, do unto others. It's like, if someone... but you got to turn the other cheek. It's like, I have issues with that. Do unto others. He stabbed me. What should I do? Do unto others. Oh no! But I got to turn the other cheek. But then how do I stab him with my cheek turned? What? It seems contradictory. Yeah, things like that blow my mind. It's what do I do? Bearing in mind, I think the safe thing to say is, you know, just don't do any harm, man. Don't do any harm in the first place if you can. But if you have to, do it in defense. Don't go on the attack, because it never works out well. It's the equivalent of sticking your head above the trenches in esoteric sense anyway. You want to go on the attack, you are making yourself a liability for shit karma. What you want is the Dharma. That's the nice stuff. And that tasty Dharma stuff. Yum. You don't want the karma. That's the lessons that you didn't figure out, and now you've got the consequences. Whether it's, you know, I don't know, STDs, unwanted children. Are they unwanted? Don't be mean. Everybody wants kids when you get them, I guess, in some sense of the word. That's horrible, isn't it? Anyway, so when it comes to judgment, and I do go off on tangents, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with judging. There is nothing wrong with judging. As long as you make sure your deeds that result from, or your actions, your words, whatever, that result from judging someone are in a, you know, Jewish sense, kosher, you should be all right. I mean, I know I use the word kosher. I'm not actually Jewish, but I like how, you know, clean it feels. You know, if we were looking at it from an Arab sense of halal, it's holy, it's clean. You know, it's like I'm not actually Muslim, but I still use the terms because I'm like, I know what this means. This is something that I've attached to something, right? There is a sense of cleanness to it. But, you know, it's nothing wrong with judgment. It's a basic survival instinct. I just don't want you guys getting stressed out because you're told, I'm not allowed to judge. You absolutely are allowed to judge. Judge away. Fuck it, man. You're human. You might be a divine spirit in a human body. That's fine. We all go through these experiences to try and understand what the fuck it means to be human. And everybody's got a different perspective because we're all using interpretive lenses. We've got a combination of different experiences, though we might be existing in a collectivized context. We might be in a westernized society. We might be of a particular ethnicity. That's the collectivized perspective, but everyone's unique and they've got their own story. That's narrative inquiry if you want to go into that. I thoroughly recommend. It's very interesting, and I love people that tell stories. So, yeah. Anyway, but there's no way in hell you could understand what one person's going through unless you physically lived it yourself. And they say, don't judge me unless you've walked a day in my shoes, and that's ridiculous. I don't know how I sound. I'm like I'm contradicting myself, but at the same time, it's like saying perfection is possible. It's not. You're going to judge. Perfection's a myth. Staying objective is a myth. You can't. It's impossible. We're all human. We all want to understand what's going on, and in order to stay safe, we judge. That's what we do. There's no way two ways about it. It is a noble idea to not judge because we want everyone to get along. We want everyone to feel included. We want everyone to feel safe. The reality of the situation in the 3D as we know it, shit happens. You can't control absolutely everything. Control is a myth. This is starting to sound very nihilist, really, isn't it? It's a nice idea. And we want everyone to get along, and we want peaceful plans and things like that. But, you know, as a person who's been assaulted, I have trouble not judging. Knowing that I didn't instigate it, knowing that I didn't want to participate in it, knowing that this was something that happened to me. I'm not a victim, as far as I can see. I don't let it weigh on me. I just try and understand. I use it as a tool to understand what the fuck happened. But I judge the person that assaulted me. I'm going, why would you do this? Knowing that we exist in a westernized society where women shouldn't be hit, why are you like this? And for me, it's a safety mechanism. It's trying to understand what happened. Did I play any part in it? Could it be avoided next time? Should it be avoided next time? It's safety. And that's of course biased because I'm female as well. This stuff's something that's ingrained in our psyche as a cultural phenomenon since birth. Since we, hit puberty, we are told that, we're unsafe. Not that we are unsafe, but yeah, we're fine. But, the circumstances we find ourselves in put us at a liability because we're smaller, because our society around us has told us that we are smaller and therefore weaker. We are stronger than men on some fronts, emotional, psychological, efficiency-wise, possibly stronger, but when it comes to brute strength, we are smaller, and we just have to deal with that. I mean, some people go into bodybuilding and strength training and stuff like that to compensate for that, and that's cool, man, if you want to do that. But biological sense, because we don't have the testosterone, we are smaller. It's just one of those things. What do they call it when it's like one sex is smaller than, it's something like anthro something. I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google it. Google is my friend. But that's a reality you have to deal with, and a lot of people a lot of women are insecure because they feel that they should exist in a world where we are safe, and I agree with that, we should. But there's always one prick that will stand up and try to dominate physically, get what they want with force because, I don't know, levels of immaturity, bad background, there's so many factors, just chemical imbalance in general. And there is a violence to being a male. There is a violence. They've got testosterone, and it's a potentially rage-based hormone. Misused, it is negative, of course. Used properly, it is positive. Used in a positive sense for protection, what are the best assets you've got? Used negatively against people who cannot defend themselves, who, it's not a fair fight, to be honest. If you're picking on someone that's smaller just because you can, then it's not a fair fight, is it? And just because you can doesn't mean you should. So we judge, of course. We judge to stay safe. We judge because our social values don't line up. In a westernized society, it's not okay for a man to hit a woman. That's what blew my mind when I got assaulted, to be honest. It wasn't the fact that he tried to hurt me. It was the fact that he was male and tried to hurt me. I'm going, what the fuck, dude? That shocked me because I know, for a fact my mum hit harder than he did. I find that funny as fuck. I'm going, you hit like a bitch. But no, because that's my upbringing. My mum was violent. Her version of parenting was to smack us. And it wasn't just a case of a light tap. But anyway, so that's what I was used to. I mean, there was one point in my life where I was more inclined to be willing to take a punch than I was to take verbal assault, because it meant cuts heal, bruises heal. The mental shit doesn't. It's harder to heal. For example, where she was, one time she smacked me in a Woolworths and everybody turned and looked, and it was the humiliation. I mean, bear in mind she fucked up my jaw when she did it, but because I heard it go. I felt it go and I couldn't talk. But, I felt the humiliation was the problem. She did it to assert her dominance. It was because I looked at her funny. I didn't mumble. I didn't make eye contact. All I did was look at her funny. And she corrected what she perceived to be the wrong behavior by smacking me. And it wasn't just a smack. It was a crack. But after that I learned to pass judgment. I was like, I'm not going to do that again, right? I need to stay safe, and that hurts, so I'm not going to do it again. Which is, mental, because looking back at it in hindsight is abuse. But also the judgment, looking at the people that turned their head to look. Were they judging me or her? Had I done something wrong? And that plays on your mind. Never mind that my jaw got better. I've still got a misaligned jaw because of it. I'm asymmetrical. I've also got a cracked eye socket because of that bitch, and I got a lazy eye because the muscles aren't attached properly. But it was a case of, am I doing it wrong by submitting? Am I doing it right by submitting? Am I? You're in a constant sense of self-assessment, and you judge yourself too. Looking back, I know what she did was wrong, but I was 15, 16 at the time. And my calculation was, it's okay that she did this because obviously I was wrong. I don't know what I did. I looked at her funny, but she didn't like it. Even people can be, flawed in their judgments. It's okay to judge. Things change. We can't completely negate the act and say I don't because it's wrong. We need to accept that we're human, or sometimes we pass judgment as the wrong judgment. The amount of times I've said something about a tarot spread and then a day later I'm going, oh fuck me, I wish I hadn't said that. I'll be pasting weird shit online just for entertainment, shits and giggles, because I laugh at human nature because it's entertaining. I keep finding spreads about people cheating on people and I'm going, ooh, this resonates with someone, and I'll take the piss and post it online. It's like, I can't believe we did this. Or this happens, oh my god, the drama. But then a week later and you go, oh, maybe that resonates just a little too strong. Maybe I can delete that. But no, it's out there, and if you want to be authentic, you've got to put this shit online and say, at this context, at this time, this is what I thought about this. It's taking ownership of your actions. It's like, by saying that you don't judge is denying accountability in a situation. I posted that. I take ownership for my actions. I accept any karma that came with it, and I'm sorry if I hurt anyone, but at the time, this is what it was. I could be traumatizing people and sending them off on weird tangents, but it's part of the deal of being human, isn't it? Not everyone is right all the time. The Queen Elizabeth II used to say no one has the monopoly on intelligence, or what was it? Something like that. We must admit that we could be wrong. Quite a possibility. If you look at Socrates, it's like all we know is that we know nothing at all. And I could be misquoting that. Absolutely, you should Google it, because I'm never right. Or am I? I don't know. Critically looking, is there any right or wrong? Don't even get me started on that one. Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky. Oh, fuck me. There's a deep, dark hole. But, it's crazy. It's crazy. We're worried about passing judgment because we don't want to be seen as the bad person. You're not a bad person for passing judgment. If you pass judgment, then go on a homicidal maniac rage quit, killing several people and, torching a few things. You could probably judge that as a bad situation. Please don't do that. I don't agree with that. That's not cool. That's horrible, actually, thinking about it. There's nothing wrong with judgment. I mean, even the very most basic instances of judgment. Someone says, how does this dress look on me? That's judgment. I mean, you try and be nice. You say, oh, I'm terrible at this, to be honest. Someone says, what does this look like? I'll say, I either won't answer because I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I'm you know, piss weak when it comes to hurting people's feelings that way. But I don't want to hurt your feelings, I'm so sorry. But it looks fucking horrible. If it was my sister, I'll try and find a nice way to, because it's only ever my sisters and my siblings that ask me how they look. That's all I ever really hang around with. But I'll try and find a nice way to deal with it so that it doesn't hurt their feelings. I mean, the value of tact is insurmountable. Even when you're passing judgment, it's a learnt thing, because to be honest, given ASD, I just want to say things how they are. But you know, it's not exactly helpful in the work environment, particularly around kids. Oh, it's horrible. Man, one of the recent example, I had one of my year threes, of her own volition, go around and survey the class and ask them who their favorite person was in the class. And I'm going, you are setting yourself up for fall. What she wanted to do was put herself as the most popular kid. I know what she was doing because she's a bit of a diva. And that's my judgment on that, because I've seen and heard enough of this bullshit to know. And I warned her at the start before she went around, and she asked everyone. I said, look, everybody's got friends. We're all here to make friends. Okay, you might not like what's going on, because not only was she a bit of a diva, she was a bit of a bitch. This is a 8-year-old. 8-year-old whose parents have told her she's fabulous, you know, for her entire existence. She's never known humility. She's never known what it could be to have someone not like her. Everyone, and we promote this sort of environment in the classroom because, you know, it's a baseline. We want everyone to get along. If we work together, it's cooperative, inclusive. You know, everybody gets along, and we all, you know, get on with the job. But the reality of the real world, in adult worlds, not everybody gets along. People piss each other off. We're human. We all come from backgrounds. Everyone's got trauma. I can assume that safely, I think, of one form or another, of varying degrees and scope and sequence, you know. But she wanted to believe that she was most popular, if not part of the popular, everyone likes me kind of group. And it's that human ego that assumes that everyone's gonna like you. Not everyone's gonna like you. That is pure ego. That is saying I'm this fabulous and this fantastic that everyone should and will like me. That's bullshit. No one likes you. I'm sorry, but you know, some people just gotta get taken down a peg or two. But she's 8 and I'm like, okay, this is a life lesson. I don't want to be the horrible portrayer of what's going to come when you start dealing with other adults, you know? I don't want to be that person. But I cautioned her. I'm like, okay, bearing in mind, everyone's got their own friends. Everyone's got their own interests. Don't take it personally if someone doesn't say you. And she got right to the end of this fucking survey. And she burst into tears, and I'm like, oh my God, really? And you sort of comfort her and you say, okay, what happened? Are you okay? What happened? All right, yeah. And then you try and mediate the circumstances. I'm like, bearing in mind, I was kind of pissed that she went for this as a popularity contest, because I hate popularity contests, I do. I find them shallow and vain, and it was just like, ugh, boring. But this was her idea. She wanted to know how included she was. And better yet, she wanted to know how high up in the ranking she was. So she, in her head, she created this hierarchy where she needed to be at the top. This is vanity, this is ego. I can't stand that shit. But I allowed it to happen because it's a lesson. I'm a teacher. I love to teach. This is my Hippocratic oath. Even if it means someone gets injured. You know? So many fail videos I find thoroughly entertaining. Anyway, so she starts crying and I'm like mediating the circumstances. Go, what happens? Okay, so, and it's part of my job to judge because, you know, I've got to know that these kids are learning. I've got to know that they're safe, that, you know, they're in a safe environment to learn. That's part of my DNA, my divine DNA. I mean, if you want to go so far as to say that, you know, Jesus taught us stuff, I teach kids not to be dicks. But it's probably not the same. Probably not, and it's a bit hyped up because you shouldn't be blowing your own horn, but there you go. Everybody's teaching everyone everything. We're all learning. It's a lifelong journey. All right, so one of my babies is sad. What do I do? Okay, so I try and mediate the situation. And these are my babies because, you know, as soon as they step in the room, they're my babies. I'm gonna look after them. I'm gonna feed them. I have fed and clothed them before when their parents failed to. It's not a problem with that. If I've got the better wage, I will. But, you know, there's my babies. I want them looked after. And sometimes they're dickholes and sometimes they're not. You know? But they're babies and they're innocent and they don't know any better. So I'm comforting this girl. I'm saying, and I'm trying to find ways to mediate tactfully that maybe this wasn't the best idea. Maybe you shouldn't go around looking for a popularity contest. Maybe in the real world, people just aren't this way inclined. You've got to respect differences, and it's part of my judgment job, essentially. And that's why I have such a problem with mass media as well. It's like people constantly looking for that updo. I'm going, the updo's not there, dude. Even if it is, it's probably a bot. So the falsified willingness to want to be the best. I mean, what was I want to be the very best? Was it Pokemon? I mean, what? Why are you living like this? There's no humility in this. Everything's ego pushing harder and I have to be the best, and it's competition. And reality, the only person you're competing against is yourself. Or you should be. Because even if you're reaching for enlightenment and your higher self, bearing in mind you're never going to get there because, you know, the journey's never done until you're dead, and even after that you get reassigned. You should still be pushing for it. Come on. This is why we're here, to understand and to grow. But, you know, it's not ego-based. I don't know why they keep aiming for ego-based shallow shit. Like, I've got this many people on my Instagram. I've got this many friends on my Facebook page. Obviously, I'm popular and people like me. This is a representation, a graphic representation of my amazingness. I've got 11 friends on my on my Facebook. I only talk to about 3 of them. Just because I don't have that need or inclination to want to suck people in, you know, sponge them in. I don't need people to validate my existence. I go through my day-to-day stuff, and if I feel like I've worked hard enough, that's enough. If I feel tired, I stop. If, you know, I'm past that vain phase in my 20s where I want to be socially accepted. And I was never popular, so I don't have that, you know, inclination to get everyone to like me. Everyone has to like me. And I swear that stems from childhood wounds. It's like, if no one likes me, you know, to be honest, I'm old enough and I'm tired enough and I just don't give a fuck if no one likes me. I don't care. I'm past it. I'm so fed up of having to interact with people in circumstances where they've shown me why they're not worth knowing. The vanity of the situation, the fakeness of it pisses me off. And I pass judgment. I openly pass judgment on others. I'm looking forward to being the crotchety old lady that gets to, you know, throw stale bread at people because they pissed her off. Maybe if I was an old dude, I'd be pissing in people's pockets. I don't know. I pass judgment with my wand of truth. But, you know, I'm going to have dementia. I hope I do. It's going to be fun. It's okay. She's got dementia. Just throw barley sugar at her. She'll be fine. But, you know, you're so afraid. That's what it comes with. I find that when people want to belong, when they feel it's the value of them, they've surmised their entire existence in their need to be recognized socially, to be involved, to be the one at the top, the competitive bullshit. And we've all got a competitive drive. That's part of our primitive makeup as well. That's part of our survival instinct. If you don't compete, you won't find a mate. If you don't compete, you won't get food. You won't, you know. But to take it to the extreme where you have to be the best in shallow shit like Facebook friends and Instagram likes, that's bugging me. Because it means nothing. You're looking for these trophies that just have no tangible weight to them. It's like, why are you looking for this? It doesn't make sense. That's why I get pissed off with 20-year-olds. I'm going, this means nothing at this point. All this popularity you had in high school means fucking nothing at this point. The people who were your friends who, you know, validated your existence in high school aren't here to give you a job or a home loan or, you know, it's like, if you were like me though, if you married your high school sweetheart, chances are that you're a different person then than you are now, and you'll probably divorce them. I divorced mine. I'm not saying everybody divorces, but we change, and if that other person can't accept that you've changed, then shit's gonna fall apart. Depends what kind of person you chose. And I made a bad choice. I passed judgment on myself there. Bad Charlotte. Naughty. I was very naughty. But I picked an idiot. So I was 17, man. I picked an idiot. I'm not surprised I picked an idiot. To be honest, I was soft and fluffy, and I wanted everything to get along, and I was trying to be inclusive, and he came across as this nice man in white shining armor and shit like that, and he was tall and quiet, and I'm like, oh, I'll have that one. He's a good one. And then you get to know them, which I've done twice now. And once you get to know them, you find the flaws, and you go, oh shit, bad judgment. Back out. Retreat. Retreat. Fall back. He's a fuck up. But you know, you judge yourself, and I can't judge myself too harshly on that, because I was working with what I knew at the time, and it sounds like a cop out and an excuse, but if you don't know the elements of the equation, and most people don't, there is a chance you will pass bad judgment, and it's that bad judgment that everybody's trying to avoid because they don't want to come across as the asshole. At this point, I'm old enough to come across as the asshole and embrace it, because I don't fucking care. I don't. I'm so tired and past people pleasing and trying to belong and trying to make peace with shit, to make things, going along to get along. I'm just going along with someone else's idea to get along. That's how you ostracize people and lose good people, because someone in your group said, this asshole doesn't fit, he's not one of us, kick him out and exclude him. And then spread gossip about them, and then, defile the image you have of them, because obviously they're not one of us, they don't do what we do. And this is Durkheim's othering, if you want to go into it sociological terms. It's a threat. Even in my last social group, I was a threat for some fucked up reason, even though I was only there for one person. I was perceived to be a threat. Someone planted the seed that I was a threat and I didn't belong. It's a bit like Inception. You ever watch that movie Inception, when you're in someone else's dream and they all sort of gang up on you because they know you're the anomaly? That's what it felt like. Watch that movie. It's amazing. And I had a lot of interesting aspects of that in my head. Anyway, that because someone identified you as different, it's a bit like white blood cells. There is a chance that they will pass judgment, and they will use that judgment wrongly to ostracize you. Bearing in mind, if I was any kind of a cancer cell in that group, using the white blood cell thing, I would have been a benign one. I was there for one person, and I left. I didn't spread anything. I didn't want to spread anything. I was not malignant. This is a horrible metaphor. Why do I keep doing this to myself? I have low self-esteem. No, I don't. Anyway, I really don't. I'm past it. I just don't care. But it's the dangers of wanting to belong to a group, and so you ostracize people who were actually valuable to the group if they'd been used properly. And I say used in a very innocent sense. I'm not in a horrible narcissistic sense where you manipulate them into giving you what you want by lying and cheating and all that shit. I mean, I was an asset to that group if they'd asked me to be. But they kicked me out, and now I don't want to help them. So, and I take that in my stride. It's been a while since I've been kicked out of a group. Usually it's primary school shit, but she's not one of us. She doesn't have a scrunchie in her hair. Kick her out. I'm like, bitch, I'm nearly 40. I don't give a fuck, kick me out or not. All this did was buy me time to work on my finances and projects. So you guys go get drunk and do your dumb shit. Go for it. And this popularity contest, weird shit, hero in your own lunchbox bullshit that goes nowhere and is worth nothing. Let's see where that goes in the next 10 years when you're unemployed and homeless. Anyway, that's my theory. I still keep an ear to the ground in particular ways with the ether. Anyway, she says, rubbing her nose. But, it goes nowhere. It's all ego. I don't like the shallowness. And people get hurt with this passing negative judgment because you don't see the whole picture. And you can put yourself at a loss. You can lose value in your circumstances by posing negative judgment on things. which is a shame, I guess. But, you know, it's part of the learning curve, isn't it? We're all human. It's forgivable. Clearly, I was a threat to someone. I don't know who. I don't know who spread whatever shit, doing what. But they didn't like me. And that was their survival instinct kicking in, so I can forgive that. And those who went along with it, I forgive them because you were working on misinformation. You don't know what the circumstances were. You wanted to belong to a group, so of course. You also passed judgment. That's fine, because you're all young kids and stupid. But, you know, the compensation is I got extra time and resources, and I got looked after by the divine. The divine turned around and said, well, that was mean. Fuck you. Take her out of there. Give her a nice apartment. Give her extra money and extra work and extra resources. She can work on her own fucking projects. Fuck these guys. And I got very well looked after in esoteric terms, you know. Some might say, you know, if you're looking at in a biblical sense, I got taken out of the den of lions and I got saved. There is a story in that. I think it's Daniel, if you want to go into biblical terms, Judeo-Christian. There's a lot of stories in that Bible that are metaphors. Okay. Use it properly, please. I mean, I'm not literally around lions, although quite a few of them were Leos, which I find interesting. There's a shitload of fire signs here, so I've been delivered from fire if we're going to signs and synchronicities, right? This is intensely interesting. This is what I love. Anyway, I'm looking for the symbolism in these reactions and interactions. Anyway, yes, I'm a bit of a nutter. It's fucking cosmic, in the words of Billy Connolly. The planet's lining, and there was a planet lining. Anyway, so no, I look at all the aspects. I'm going, this is fun. It's just entertainment value for me as well. I'm a bit weird, but you know, it's you put yourself at a loss if you run with it. If you're not looking at it critically yourself, as long as you are using judgment for positive things. I don't understand ostracizing someone from a social group, for example, based on perceived threat of one individual who has no grounds or evidence for actually ostracizing that person. It seems weak. It's a bit pathetic, really. It's like that person might hurt my ego, therefore I'm going to kick them out of the group and then spread shit about them. That seems pathetic, to be honest. It's like, how insecure are you about your own situation that you need to shit on other people and then get other people to, you know, shit on that person by proxy, just to make yourself feel better, rather than actually. But then again, you got the alternative, which is if you can't beat them, join them, which I also don't agree with, because you shouldn't sacrifice your own authenticity to say you belong with that person because they seem to be winning at the time. That's another problem I have. So, you know, there's so many complexities to this. This is why I don't hang out with people. I love hermit mode. I'm like, I don't have to think about this shit when I'm not interacting with these people. That was probably the worst social group I actually interacted with, because that hands down beat high school, because that was a bunch of 20 to 30, mid-30 year olds still acting like primary school, high school kids. And I looked at this and I went, bitch, I got a job. Fuck this. I'm going home. I got a house. I got a job. I don't have to deal with this shit. And I suppose that might be a form of maturity, but, you know, I don't know. To know when to bow out gracefully and say, nah, dude. It's like, nah. I see what this is. I see what this is for what it is. Does it have any value? Does it go anywhere? Have I been around the block enough times to know this is fucked up? And yeah, no, I'm going home where there's snacks, fluffy things, and beds. Just because I'm like, I can't be fucked dealing with your drama. It's irritating and cyclic and it goes nowhere. So in that case, I did pass judgment. And I still pass judgment because I can't believe at this age they're still fucking doing it. You're just like, you guys are too old for this shit. You should have grown out of this in high school. Grow up. You guys are old enough to have kids. There's a certain level of maturity that you need to have fucking kids. It's like, oh my God, no. So it's going to be a case of kids raising kids if they get knocked up. Mental. It's just, this is how we keep getting perpetuated stupid social groups. Idiots breeding idiots, right? Because they've just not got the maturity to grow up before they actually breed. And then they pass that stupidity along the line. Because this is what we've always done. You go, oh my God, why do you exist? And then, of course, you have a mild existential crisis. Because you're like, I don't know how this exists, because law of nature, these fuckers should be dead by now. If there was a lion over there, they'd be dead, I swear to God. It'd eat them. Just eat them. These fuckers are the guinea pigs. But anyway, these are the ones we give the weird berries to test if they're good still. But anyway, I digress. I could go on all day about that shit. I probably will do a podcast about that. It's Monday. I've got to go. I'm just going to say as a keynote, it's okay to judge. It's okay. It's what you do with this information that makes it dangerous or incredibly productive, okay? Looking at that past example, the dangerous part was they ostracized someone who had actually been useful to them. I know what I can do, I know what I had to offer, and I know what support I could have given, even if it's just pastoral care. I could have helped them get through some situations that they're going to be facing in the next couple of months that are really fucking horrible. But yeah, I've seen it, I've done it, I know what it is. Got the t-shirt and the club card. That's the dangerous side of things. You don't have anyone who's been there and done it who can say, this might happen, have you tried this? The upside is that I got taken out of a very horrible situation that was intensely insulting and set in a good context where I could grow and shape my own life and enrich my life financially, morally, spiritually, because all I've been doing in hermit mode is sitting making a shit ton of money while watching tarot card readings and watching people be idiots. That sounds a bit arrogant, I know, and it's a bit conceited, but at the same time I'm going, the alternative is to sit in the middle of that shit and be part of it and face the same negative karma and shit going on with these assholes. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take a pass on that. I'm going to take a step back, go into hermit mode and let this shit just run its course. Watch the turds float down the river. I don't know. Wave goodbye. It's like, I don't have time for this. So, you know, it's a weird analogy. And why do all my analogies turn to shit? I don't know. It's poo and fecal matter all the time. I suppose it's because I work with kids. But anyway, I want you to have a good Monday. I want you to have a fantastically relaxed Monday. I'm going to do another podcast on the way home. I'm trying to get away from using examples like relationships and stuff because, you know, but it's my go-to. It's the most recent shit I've got. So, you know, I know it's a bit cyclic. So, all right, if you don't want to listen to them, that's okay. Have a great Monday and I'll see you in a podcast on the way back.